Millionaire CEO chose her from 83 finalists. You won't believe what this popcorn girl did next. The crowd buzzed like an electric current, excitement crackling in the air as Julie sat frozen, her breath hitching in her throat. She was just an ordinary girl, with a wild dream and an even wilder ambition. Somehow, she stood amid the glitz and glamour of high-stakes investors, a stage set for triumph or heartbreak. The millionaire CEO, with his dark sunglasses and enigmatic smile, had narrowed down a sea of hopefuls to just one, a decision that would change lives forever. But why would he choose her? A girl who simply sold popcorn. Julie's world spun even faster when she remembered, the popcorn. It wasn't just regular popcorn. She had poured everything into mastering top-secret recipes that combined flavors like caramel and chili, creating a taste so addictive it had been dubbed popcorn of the gods by the local food blog. From the corner of her eye, she spotted the glitz of cameras flashing her way. Were they releasing her fortune or sealing her doom? Questions bubbled up like oil in a hot fryer, and the uncertainty hung above her like a storm cloud ready to burst. The whispers began, growing louder. Can you believe she made it this far? What is her story even? She could feel the tide of judgment wash over her, each word cutting deeper than a knife. Sweat pooled in her palms, her fingers trembling, fighting back the fierce desire to flee this frenzy. But there was a heartbeat in her chest urging her to stay, pushing her back into the limelight. The stakes felt astronomical, and she had no idea what this would mean for her future. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The CEO cleared his throat, silencing the audience. Time stretched thin, pulsing in Julie's ears. You're all here for a reason, he began, his voice smooth yet thunderous. Then, as he locked eyes with her, the entire world faded away. And that reason is to change how we think about snacks forever. Her heart raced. Was this actually happening? One moment could shift her life into a new dimension, one where she ruled the world of gourmet treats, but, before she could process the enormity of his words, the lights flickered, plunging the room into darkness. Gasps filled the space, the sudden absence of sound almost deafening. The tension swelled, and Julie felt the ground beneath her tremble. Why now? Panic tightened her chest as she stood in the void of uncertainty, waiting for the power to return. Would the chance of a lifetime slip away while she stood frozen in fear? What would happen next? The darkness enveloped her like a thick fog, an unsettling silence amplifying her heartbeat, each thud echoing louder than before. Julie instinctively shifted, aware of the collective breath the crowd was holding. She could almost hear the soft shuffle of feet, the murmurs of confusion rippling through the sea of well-dressed investors. Then, a flicker caught her attention, a small glow from the emergency exit sign, green and reassuring, guiding the way. The sensation of vertigo washed over her. The moment spun in her mind. Was this really happening? Her dream was about to materialize, but instead, she stood frozen in a pitch-black void. In the stillness, she thought she sensed someone moving beside her. Julie. A familiar voice called out, cutting through the unsure silence. It was Chet, her best friend, the one who had encouraged her since day one. She turned toward him, her heart relieved to see a friendly face amidst all this chaos. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice low but urgent. "I don't know," she whispered, fear leaking into her words. The room felt impossibly big, and the idea of losing her chance haunted her. What if I don't get to pitch? What if he picks someone else? Relax, you've come too far to let this stop you. Just remember why you're here, Chet urged, his enthusiasm an anchor in the storm. As seconds ticked away, Julie's mind raced. Yes, she had poured her heart into every batch of popcorn. Yes, popcorn of the gods had the potential to change everything, but was it enough? What if they thought she was a joke, just a girl who didn't belong here? Her thoughts spiraled out of control, and the void felt unbearably heavy. Then, like thunder after a flash, the lights flickered back to life. Relief washed over the crowd in waves as they squinted against the surge of brightness. People murmured, excitement reigniting as the CEO resumed his position at the front. The air buzzed to life, restoring hope along with the illumination. "Now, where were we?" he said, his tone a playful drawl that struck the crowd with renewed energy. Julie felt her heart slap against her ribs. This was it. As he scanned the audience, she wondered if he could tell she was trembling. Did it matter? This was the moment she had rehearsed countless times. She had to believe in herself. The internal battle surged within her. Could she forge ahead despite her fears? "I want to invite our final surprise guest to the stage," the CEO continued, his gaze locking on her. "Julie, come on up." The world around her blurred. Was she dreaming? Chet was practically jumping with excitement, and the applause hit her like a tidal wave. Taking a deep breath, she stepped forward, her legs shaky yet fueled by adrenaline. With every step toward that stage, self-doubt wrestled with exhilaration. She was about to face everyone who had doubted her, but also everyone who believed in her. She took the mic, and the spotlight drenched her in warmth. The moment stretched like a rubber band, taut and ready to snap. As she opened her mouth to speak, the sound of something shattering filled the air, an ominous crack reverberating through the silence. The crowd gasped again, and she felt the energy shift. It was more than a break, it felt like a warning. What was happening now? The ground beneath her seemed to shake. What was about to unfold? Would she still have her moment, or was the universe about to throw her another curveball? The room shook again, a low rumble sending vibrations through Julie's body. Her grip tightened around the microphone as the scattered audience began to murmur, a wave of confusion and concern washing over them. The applause faded, and tension hung like a heavy cloud. What had just happened? "Is everyone okay?" Someone shouted from the back, breaking the thick atmosphere. Light flickered above, tilting the spotlight into angles that made shadows dance on the walls. Julie's mind raced. She had never imagined her moment would be eclipsed by chaos. She glanced at Chet, who looked equally bewildered, his brows furrowed in concern. Then she turned back to the crowd. This was her stage. Her moment. She couldn't let fear rule her. Just as she opened her mouth to speak, the room trembled again, but this time it felt different, more violent. The sound of glass shattering rang out, and Julie instinctively flinched as a sharp fragment echoed through the air. The crowd surged back, hands covering mouths, eyes wide. "Stay calm." The CEO's voice boomed suddenly, his authoritative tone trying to regain control. "It's just a minor incident. We've got this." But the foundation of the auditorium felt unstable. Julie saw people getting up, some even starting to bolt for the exits. Panic gripped her heart. The dream she had nurtured for so long began to crumble before her eyes. "Chet! We have to get everyone organized," Julie shouted, planting her feet firmly. "They can't just run. It could be a false alarm." He nodded, determination blazing in his eyes. Together, they moved toward the edge of the stage, trying to calm the audience. Julie raised her hands, desperately trying to project confidence. "Please, everyone. It's going to be okay. Just stay where you are." As she spoke, her gaze scanned the audience. She noticed a figure near the back, a man hunched over, eyes darting around wildly. Confusion morphed into something darker on his face. Was he the reason behind all this? Another tremor rippled through the floor, stronger this time. Chairs scraped across the polished surface, and whispers filled the air like a thick fog. Julie felt her heart rate spike. This wasn't just about her pitch anymore. Something was wrong, and the sense of dread coiling in her gut told her to be ready. "Julie!" Chet shouted, pulling her attention back. "If we don't get control of this, it'll be complete chaos. You have to pitch. It's your moment." She could taste the bitterness of doubt mixed with fear, her dreams layered in uncertainty. It was meant to be her day, but now it was veering into a nightmare. Would the people she had come to impress see her as a leader or just another scared face? "All right," she said, forcing her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "Just breathe. We can do this together." Then, a loud crash rang out from the back of the room. The figure she had spotted was now standing, fists clenched, a wild look in his eyes. He was moving toward the front, and a thrill of trepidation shot through her. "Chet, keep them calm," she yelled, her instinct kicking in. "I need to know what is going on." The man's eyes locked with hers, and the chaos around them faded into a murmur. He took a step forward, and suddenly, everything felt like it was hanging by a thread. What did he want? What was happening? The tension in the air thickened, and her heart pounded louder than ever. "Stop right there," Julie commanded, unsure if she was speaking from courage or desperation. The audience held its breath, and with a determined glint, the man's lips parted. What was he about to reveal? Who are you?" the man croaked, voice trembling. The room, which had been a cacophony of worried murmurs, fell silent, every eye in the audience glued to him. Julie's heart raced in her chest. Fear collided with curiosity as she peered past the figure's disheveled frame, trying to gauge his intentions. "Do you want to talk?" she asked, more boldly than she felt that he hesitated, the tension in his shoulders relaxing just a bit. "I just wanted to warn you." His breath hitched, each word laced with urgency. "It's not safe. You don't understand what's really happening here." Gasps rippled through the audience, a raw collective intake of breath. Chet moved closer to Julie, his eyes narrowing on the stranger. "What do you mean? What's unsafe?" The man glanced around the room, paranoia seeping into his gaze. "They're coming for you. They want to silence you." "Silence me?" Julie echoed, her voice barely above a whisper, disbelief pitching in her throat. "Who? Why?" He took a deep breath, the moment stretching painfully long. "The presentation, it's a cover-up. They'll ruin everything you've built. You need to get out now." Just then, another violent tremor rocked the room, this one sending lights swinging and a cloud of dust cascading from the ceiling. A faint scream broke the silence, and the audience surged toward the exits like a wave crashing against a cliff. Panic exploded in the air, the atmosphere electric with fear. "Stay calm," Julie shouted, her voice somehow breaking through the panic as she turned back to the audience. "This is chaos, but we can't just leave. Julie, we need to go," Chet implored, grabbing her arm. "He's not making any sense." "No." She snapped back, her spirit ignited. "Someone knows something. We can't just follow the herd." The man stepped closer, eyes pleading. "You have to listen. If you pitch, they will come for you, for all of you." A series of thuds echoed as staff tried to barricade doors, tensions rising even higher. "What's he talking about?" Chet demanded, frustration evident in his expression. "Nobody's going to hurt us." "Oh, but they will," the man insisted, frantic. "It's not a coincidence you made it this far. They need you at that mic. If you represent them, they can control you." Julie's breath caught in her throat. As chaos swirled around her, clarity washed over her like ice water. She had fought tooth and nail to be here. Was this whole presentation more than just about her dream? Before she could formulate her thoughts, the CEO's voice thundered once more, breaking through the noise. "Everyone, listen to me. We're staying put until we assess the situation. Hands clutched at Julie's arm. Chet was pulling her toward the side stage, his grip firm. What do we do? He said, urgency rising in his voice. We can't stay. It's not safe here. All at once, the lights flickered violently, the rhythmic pulse of the room punctuated by distant sirens. They're here, the man gasped. You have no idea what's at stake. Julie's mind raced. The stakes were higher than she'd ever imagined, but was she ready to stand firm? To confront whatever threat lay ahead? She couldn't look away from the man's pleading gaze. Do you trust me? She asked, locking eyes with him. More than you know, he whispered, fear mingling with resolve. She felt a rush of clarity. This was more than herself now, it was about everyone in the room. But if she moved forward, could she bear the weight of the truth? With adrenaline surging, Julie took a deep breath. We're going to pitch, and we're going to do it together. Around them, the room was thick with tension, uncertainty, and urgency, a maelstrom of emotions that felt like a countdown. What awaited them when that curtain rose? As the ground shook again, with a deafening roar from outside the building, she realized this was only the beginning. What had she just put in motion? And what would be the cost? The din of chaos surrounded Julie as the world outside rumbled. She felt the man's gaze boring into hers, desperate for understanding. Each heartbeat drummed in her ears. The walls of the conference room trembled, a reflection of the internal storm brewing in her chest. What happens if we go out there? She whispered. The tension felt oppressive, as if the air itself threatened to suffocate her. They're waiting, he replied, urgency clawing at his throat. Infiltrators. They'll stop you before you can even get a word out. Your presentation, it's what they want. Julie's heart sank at the implication, the very act she dreamt of giving now held a double-edged sword. And if we stay? What's the worst that could happen? The stranger shook his head, a look of terror washing over his features. You don't want to find out. Trust me, you'd rather face the crowd than them. Chet stepped between them, his voice strained. We can't just stand here. We need a plan, or we'll be crushed in this madness. The urgency sparked a flicker of frustration in Julie. Chet. She snapped, the raw emotion bleeding into her tone. This isn't just panic. This is information. Something real. But the tension weighed heavily in Chet's eyes. Fear twisted his features. Then what? You expect us to take the stage like nothing's wrong? It's a trap, Julie. Don't you see? As if to punctuate his point, splintering sounds echoed from outside, mingling with erratic sirens that filled the air, a symphony of impending doom. Julie's composure wavered, and she felt a tightening in her stomach. Listen. The man shouted, catching the attention of those still lingering, trembling, with uncertainty in their eyes. She's right. They plan to use her as bait. If she goes up there, they'll silence all of you. Fear rippled through the crowd, faces turned pale, discussions went silent. Julie clenched her fists, her nails digging into her palms. We have to fight, she said, her voice rising above the whispers. If I don't pitch, they win. We can't let them control us. As she spoke, a flood of bravery coursed through her veins. Energy surged, a fire ignited not just in her heart but in the crowd's eyes. More murmurs of agreement wafted through the audience, a wave of shared determination. What if it's a distraction? Chet urged, skepticism painted on his features. What if they just want to take you out? This isn't a game. They don't have to take me out, Julie replied, raw conviction sharpening her words. What if I can show them that I want to be silenced? The man smirked, a glimmer of respect in his eyes. Right. But how? You have to make them believe you're not the target, that you're the threat. Julie nodded, adrenaline mixing with fear, but she felt something else, a sense of purpose. Then let us turn the tables. Let us show them that we're not afraid. With determination radiating from her, she looked at the man, Chet, and the audience. We need to stick together. Each of you has to speak up. We can't let fear define us. The moments that followed were a blur. Frantic whispering and eager nods filled the space, a plan taking shape, a collective heart pounding out a rhythm of rebellion. But just as hope flickered brightly, another shudder swept through the ground, and the lights flickered ominously again. The sound of breaking glass echoed from the entrance as the doors burst open, revealing dark silhouettes standing in the doorway. The tension snapped like a taut line, dragging their focus to the newcomers. Too late, a voice sneered from the shadows. You've made your choice. Something cold slithered down Julie's spine, and she understood in that moment this was no longer about the pitch, it was life and death, glory and ruin. Were they ready to face whatever came next? As the shadows loomed closer, turning from eerie to monstrous, she asked herself, had she just made the worst mistake of her life? Julie's breath hitched as the shadows coalesced into solid forms. They moved with a confidence that sent ripples of panic through the crowd. Each face twisted in fear, eyes wide, bodies frozen. Who are you? She demanded, her voice shaky but defiant. The man from earlier stepped closer, drawing a protective stance in front of her. Just ordinary folks like you, the figure in the front replied with a dark chuckle, pushing back the hood that masked his face. Except we know what it takes to survive. Julie's heart raced. This wasn't the support she needed. The crowd behind her shifted uneasily, their resolve starting to waver. But you're not ordinary, she countered, glancing at Chet, who was staring at the intruders with a mix of anger and dread. You're here to intimidate us. Smart girl, the man responded, his eyes glinting with mischief. We're the ones who will decide if you step on that stage or not. Your presentation? It's our insurance. The threat hung heavy in the air, suffocating the atmosphere around them. Julie leaned into the uncertainty, her hands trembling, gripping the edge of the conference table. And if we refuse? She challenged, adrenaline sharpening her words. A smirk played on his lips. Then you'll witness something far worse than fear. Without missing a beat, the figure waved his hand, and the others surged forward. The room felt smaller, the walls closing in as dread seeped into their hearts. Let us get out of here, Chet whispered, urgency in his voice. But Julie stood firm. She could feel the eyes of everyone pinning her like a flag in a storm. A voice inside urged her to push through, to act. No. We stick together. She shouted, her voice somehow cutting through the chaos. We fight. Chet shook his head, panic swirling around him. You can't fight these guys, Julie. They have the upper hand. The strangers laughed, the sound cold and mocking, reverberating off the walls. Tough talk for a cornered mouse. Let us see what you've got. Every muscle in Julie's body tightened. She could taste fear on her tongue, but her heart pounded with the strength of 1,000 drums. They wouldn't have her. She wouldn't let fear swallow her or her dreams. Listen. She shouted, pitching her voice louder than before, commanding their attention. You think you can silence us? You think you can hide in the shadows and make us tremble? That's where you're wrong. Our voices will rise above. In that moment, something shifted. Several members of the audience stepped forward, emboldened by her words, their edges sharpening like blades amid the chaos. Yeah. We won. Back down. Someone yelled, catching the wave of courage that sparked. We're with you, Julie. Hope sparked in Julie's chest. Was it possible that they might just stand together against this looming threat? The tension crackled in the air, thickening like smoke. The man laughed again, a slow, deliberate sound that echoed in her ears like a death knell. Then by all means, let us play. Gunfire erupted from the doorway, loud and jolting like thunder on a clear day. The crowd gasped, confusion spiraling. Shadows scattered, now infused with the chaos of their panic. Julie's heart raced, and everything slowed down. Her breath quickened in her throat as she searched for their next move. What had she just unleashed? Had she stepped too far beyond the brink? As the dust began to settle, a chilling realization flooded her. Were they still in control, or had they just crossed a line into a game they didn't understand? The sound of footsteps echoed ominously, the arrival of new players in this deadly game. Would they rise to the challenge, or would this chaos lead to their ruin? And suddenly, it hit her: if they truly wanted to fight back, survival meant confronting what lingered in the shadows, and the massive stakes of their unfolding nightmare. What would they do now? The chaos thundered around Julie, echoes of shocked gasps mingling with the distant crack of gunfire. All she could feel was a nerve-wracking certainty that their fate hung by a fragile thread. She jerked her head toward the doorway, heart hammering against her ribs, each beat a desperate call for clarity. The strangers were not just shadows anymore, they were breathing, menacing figures moving swiftly amongst wavering faces, now drained of resolve. This was no longer just fear, it was real danger looming and seeping into every corner of the room. Chet! She shouted over the din, her voice struggling to rise. We need to get everyone out, now. But Chet stood frozen, eyes darting wildly. How? They have guns. His trembling hands clutched his sides, a human barrier against chaos. From behind the conference table, Julie caught a glimmer of movement. A young woman, Amy, she recalled, one of the marketing assistants, huddled beside a table leg, her breath quick and shallow. There's a window. Amy gasped, pointing frantically toward the far wall, dust filtering through shattered glass like a desperate surrender. Listen up. Julie rallied, her voice cutting through the panic as she rallied the remaining composure. We break through the back. Trust me, follow my lead. Just as she started to move, another thunderous shot rang out, this time closer. The room surged with energy, people jostling for a point of safety amidst the swell. The man at the front, still shadowed by dark laughter, raised a hand, stopping his crew. You think you can just escape? That's adorable. But we don't play fair. He flashed a grin, revealing a gold tooth that gleamed ominously. Oh no, things are just getting fun. Fun? Julie echoed, incredulity washing over her. You think this is a game? Your twisted thrill ride could cost lives. His laughter reverberated through the air, a vile melody that sent chills racing up her spine. Exactly, girl. And you're about to learn just how far you're willing to go. Welcome to our reality show. Before she could process the meaning behind his words, he gestured, and the intruders surged forward. They moved like wolves pressed to corner their prey, fueled by a savage hunger that Laura felt deep within her bones. We have to go. She yelled again, instinct kicking in as she grabbed Chet by the arm, forcing him toward the makeshift exit. But he resisted. I can't leave. His voice cracked. What about everyone else? A swell of frustration engulfed her, fear was no longer an option. We must. Focus, Chet. She spun around to address the crowd. Anyone who can move, head for the windows. Now. A few people began to shuffle toward the exit, hesitant but driven by a flicker of hope ignited in the chaos. Julie's heart quickened as she realized they might have a chance. But then the clattering mountain of fear crashed anew when one of the intruders lunged forward, brandishing a weapon. Don't you dare move. You walk, you die. The air turned electric, frozen with uncertainty. Julie's throat tightened, but fire surged in her chest. She wouldn't let fear define this moment. Stop. She shouted, her voice rising with the weight of determination. You want to control us? You're outnumbered. You don't know the fight that lives inside each person here. In that singular moment, she met the eyes of the armed figure. For an instant, they shared a silent understanding. Would he back down? But he smiled that insidious smile once more, leaning on the barrel of the gun. Is that so? Then let us see if your strength can stand against a simple game of chance. And just like that, hope teetered on the edge of calamity as he revealed the twisted stakes of their deadly contest. What had they really stepped into, and could they truly manifest the strength within to turn this night around? Then, suddenly, from a rustle behind them, emerged another figure, covered in dust and disheveled. Tom, their IT specialist, with a glimmer in his eyes suggesting he might have a plan of his own. Julie, he breathed. I might have a way to disrupt their game. But we need to act now. Was this a lifeline or another trap? The blurred line of survival sent shivers racing along her spine. Could they trust Tom to save them after all? Julie's heart raced as she held her breath, grappling with uncertainty and fear. Cool-headed or not, Tom's sudden appearance sent more than just a ripple of confusion through the room, it sparked a flicker of hope. Yet, hope was as fragile as the glass surrounding them, and Julie couldn't afford to let it shatter. Disrupt their game? She repeated, her voice tense. How? Tom stepped closer, eyes scanning the room, hungry for detail. If we can get to their equipment, I might be able to turn it against them, he explained hurriedly, pointing toward a dark corner where a video feed flickered on a monitor. We need to create some chaos of our own. A sense of rebellion began to swell within her. Julie nodded, but before she could form a plan, the man with the gun shifted, eyes narrowing on their huddled group. His amusement flickered, replaced by suspicion. If they were going to act, they needed to do so with the precision of a well-oiled machine. Chet, Julie barked, snapping her focus back to him. You're with me. Everyone else, keep the others distracted. Use anything you can find. As if fueling his own anger, the man raised his weapon higher. I said don't move, or you'll pay the price. Too late. Julie shot back, adrenaline coursing through her veins. She surged forward, dragging Chet along, weaving in and out of terrified faces. The room's energy shifted, heads turning as each person picked up shards of makeshift weapons, office chairs, pens, desperate pieces of courage that would defend them. Tom slipped deeper into the shadows, eyes locked on the monitors. The kids were scrambling and the chaos ignited once more, screams fracturing the air like glass breaking underfoot. You think you can deceive us? The gunman taunted, amusement crawling back into his voice as he flicked his eyes toward Tom. Not a chance. I'm not the fool you take me for. Julie's pulse pounded in her temples. The distraction was already giving them the edge. Now! She shouted. They ascended toward the darkness, the echo of footsteps racing behind them only fueling the speed of their escape. Julie glanced back just in time to see Chet swipe an empty plastic chair, brandishing it like a shield. Her heart swelled, pride mingling with fear. Even if they slipped and fell into an abyss, they wouldn't go quietly. Tom was at the monitor, fingers flying over the keyboard, his face a mask of concentration. Just a bit more. He murmured, sweat glistening on his forehead. In the other room, the laughter of the gunman became a warped melody, growing louder and more distorted. Julie pressed her lips together, breathing slowly, feeling the chaos swirl around her like a storm. You can do this, Tom, she said under her breath. You're not alone. But then a piercing scream shattered her thoughts. No. Please. A young voice, Amy's. Every muscle tightened. The gunman had moved toward them, eyes wild. Julie felt her resolve shift, anger sparking against the wave of panic threatening to pull her under. Tom! She shouted, urgency barreling into every word. Hurry! Almost done. He yelled back, but the way he glanced towards the door told a different story. He was running out of time. Her instincts kicked in. Chet, we need to get everyone out the window. Now. No. Chet's voice trembled. You can't leave him. Julie felt torn, but she couldn't let fear stop her from pushing ahead. The moment hung with uncertainty, and desperation clawed at her throat. In the blink of an eye, she lunged for Chet. "Trust me." Just as she pulled him toward the window, Tom launched himself toward the monitor, the final key pressed. Lights began to flicker, cutting off the feed above, echoing across the room in harsh sputters. The gunman turned, realization dawning on his face. In that instant, time slowed. "No!" he roared, face contorting with rage. They had crossed a line. Would fleeing now be enough, or had they awakened a darkness they couldn't control? Julie's heart thudded while the echoes of violence boomed next to her. They were so close, yet the abyss loomed ominously ahead. "Jump!" she shouted, knowing the choice between trust and survival was growing smaller. Could they take the leap, or would the darkness consume them all? Julie's feet barely met the edge of the window when a loud crack echoed through the room, making everyone freeze. The gunman had fired a shot, the bullet whizzing perilously close to Tom's position. He dove behind the monitor, heart pounding, his focus unbroken as he desperately tried to disable their system. "Go! Now!" Julie urged, glancing back at the group. Their faces were painted with terror, but they were moving. Chet followed, his hands trembling around the chair he wielded like a shield. But time was slipping away. Julie felt the gnawing fear settle in her stomach. Could they really leap to freedom? The gunman, rage spilling from every pore, surged forward. "You think you can escape me?" he bellowed, his voice a growl of a wounded animal. Without thinking, Julie grabbed Chet's arm and jumped out the window. The impact was jarring, but the cool air rushed at them as the ground met her feet. A deep breath filled her lungs, the sensation of freedom almost surreal. She didn't dare and look back, just felt the pull of survival tug her forward. Behind them, the sound of shattered glass erupted as they landed. Cries of alarm mixed with the gunman's furious shouts chased them into the open night. They stumbled into the alley, the dark swallowing them whole, heartbeats pounding like a war drum. The adrenaline fueled their feet as they raced down the unfamiliar streets. "We have to find somewhere safe," Chet gasped, slipping on a damp patch. Julie steadied him, her eyes scanning their surroundings. Shadows danced under the flickering streetlights, making every corner a potential threat. "What about Tom?" Chet's voice dropped, filled with dread. "I don't know," Julie snapped. "We have to keep moving." But doubt clawed at her heart. They had left Tom behind, a brave soldier in a losing battle. She could almost hear his voice in her head, urging her not to look back, telling her to save herself. She had to believe he'd follow. They dashed further down the block, breathing hard, a terrifying silence wrapping around them. Somewhere, the distant sound of sirens wailed, a reminder that time was pressing. Chet stopped, hands on his knees, panting. What if he doesn't make it? Julie swallowed hard. A knot formed in her throat. "We can't think like that. We have to believe she calculated each word carefully, smart enough to get out. An abandoned diner loomed in front of them, its neon sign flickering like a dying star. "In there!" Julie shouted. They pushed through the door, the rusted hinges squealing their protest. The interior was dark, tables overturned, and a hint of despair hung in the air. Once inside, they collapsed against the wall, trying to catch their breath. Outside, the gunman's furious footsteps grew closer. "What if he finds us?" Chet whispered, voice quivering. Julie put a finger to her lips, listening intently. "We have to be quiet." But the moment was interrupted by a loud crash. The door swung open, light flooding the room, revealing their pursuer with fury in his eyes. He stepped over the threshold, gun raised, determination radiating from him. For Julie, time stretched. Everything turned slow. The horror on Chet's face was clear. They were trapped. "Where is Tom?" she thought, anxiety twisting her stomach. Just when she thought the darkness would swallow them, the answer surged to her mind. "Chet!" She whispered urgently, "Remember the back exit." But before she could move, the gunman laughed, a sound filled with menace. "Now, it's just the three of us." Julie felt her heart hammering again. Would they find a way out? Or would this be the moment everything collapsed? In the shadows of the diner, with the walls closing in, she took a deep breath, the stakes higher than ever. Would she be able to draw on the strength of those she fought for? Or was the abyss finally closing in for good? Julie's chest tightened as she faced the gunman, the oppressive weight of fear pushing against her. She could feel Chet's presence beside her, strong yet trembling. The gunman loomed like a dark cloud, determination radiating from him, but there was no time for despair. They had to act, they had to fight for their lives, for Tom, for everything they had worked for. With a sharp intake of breath, Julie stepped forward, determination coursing through her veins like wildfire. "You think you can intimidate us?" she accused, her voice a mixture of fear and defiance. "You've underestimated how far we've come." The gunman faltered, surprise flickering across his face. "Oh, really? You think you can rally the troops?" His mocking tone dripped with sarcasm. "You're just a girl with a bucket of popcorn, and look where that's gotten you." Chet, regaining his resolve, stepped out beside Julie. "We're not afraid of you," he declared, his voice stronger than she had ever heard it. "You think you can dictate our fate? We refuse to be your pawns." A low chuckle escaped the gunman. "Good speech. But I'm not in the business of letting you go. You're too valuable. You think this is just a game? I can crush your dreams faster than you can say gourmet popcorn." But like a light cutting through the darkness, Julie experienced a surge of confidence. "You know what? You may have your weapons and your threats, but we have something stronger. You don't know what we're willing to sacrifice for our freedom. We stand together, and together we fight." In a sudden rush, she gestured to the stacks of overturned furniture, remnants of the diner's forgotten glory. "Chet, the exit," she urged, adrenaline pushing her forward. He was already moving, nodding in understanding. "Come on, everyone. This way." They pivoted toward the back of the diner, a dimly lit exit promising a chance for escape. As Julie rushed toward the door, she glanced back at the gunman. His face twisted in anger, he raised his weapon again, but another tremor shook the floor, forcing him off balance. Julie seized the moment. "We can go now." The sound of glass shattering and the commotion of chaos painted an exhilarating picture of possibility. Chet was already through the door, and they sprinted through the back alley, lungs burning and hearts racing. Suddenly, the sound of distant sirens grew louder, mingling with their urgency. They had to keep going. They couldn't look back, not now. But would Tom follow? The worry clawed at her insides, but she banished it. She had to hope grounded in trust. "Chet! We can't leave Tom behind," she shouted amid their frantic escape. "We'll find him. He must have gotten out." Chet replied, matching her pace as they bled into the street, lights swirling around them, sending adrenaline coursing through their veins. As they burst out onto the pavement, the kaleidoscope of swirling chaos danced across their vision, the fading echoes of gunfire still lingering. Were they safe yet? Then, a voice pierced through the night. "Julie." "Chet." It was Tom, emerging from the shadows, breathless yet triumphant. A wave of relief washed over her. "You did it." "Of course, I did." Tom laughed, glancing between them, exhilaration bubbling in his eyes. "I managed to short out their monitor system just in time. They're scrambling now." For an instant, they stood together, catching their breath, wrapping their arms around each other amidst the frayed edges of a night they survived. "We need to keep moving," Julie said, heart still racing with thrill. "They won't stop until they find us. We go home." Chet exclaimed, determination igniting in his voice. We regroup, we plan, and we fight back. This is our story now, not theirs. And just like that, hope ignited like a wildfire in her heart. They would stand united against the night, armed with courage, ingenuity, and an unyielding belief in their fight for what they believed in. Hand in hand, they raced down the street together as their past faded behind them, leaving the shadows of fear behind. In that ordinary moment, Julie felt extraordinary. Dreams weren't just dreams anymore, they were realities waiting to be shaped by the choices they made. She would forge ahead, a sign of resilience decorating their shared path. In the end, nothing would silence them. And as the dawn broke over the horizon, the golden light spilled across their faces, signifying new beginnings. This was their time, and they would write the narrative on their own terms. So, don't wait for someone else to tell your story. Step into it. Dream it, shout it, and share it. If you love this thrilling conclusion, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel. Don't miss out on exclusive stories that will leave you hanging on the edge of your seat. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, and let the world know you're fighting with us. Flood the comments section with your reactions, and tell us your theories about what might happen next. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans know the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Let us keep the thrill alive.